how to get more storage space but still have your kitchen look perfect. This is Nathan Harrison for FineRemodel.com. Why would you want to take your cabinets all the way to the ceiling like this? Well, why not? You can get an extra foot of storage space compared to typical cabinet. Assuming it's an 8 or 8.5 foot high ceiling, you can reach that fairly easily given a normal size kitchen stool, so why not use it? So here's what you need to know in order to do this right. First of all, before any mud work is done on the ceiling of your kitchen, and of course mud work would precede the paint, before any of that is done, you need to check the framing. And I am talking about the framing of your ceiling joists. In this kitchen, I imagine they're running this way. It really doesn't matter. They tend to be on 16-inch centers. You need to check them and make sure they're all in plane with each other. If there are joists that are saggy, they need to be corrected. Typically, this won't be a problem at all if you have an attic above you. If it's another story, it gets more difficult, but it's still worth doing. There are ways of furring the ceiling down in the worst case scenario so that you can achieve a flat ceiling even if you have whacked out joists. Now this is important because your cabinets will serve as a straight edge placed against the ceiling, and they will accentuate defects in the ceiling. Here's one of a great many pictures that I have of ceilings that were not flat when I went to install the kitchen. So rule number 1 is framing check, flatten the ceiling. Rule number 2 is to use small and scribable top trim. Here's what I mean by that. First of all, small. You can see that this is normal size crown molding. It's large, it's probably 3 to 4 inches. The problem with this is it can't bend, it can't flex to fit against a wavy surface. So it's like a straight edge, and it's just going to have to show the cracks. You can caulk it, but caulking just doesn't look professional, and usually the best alternative is to just leave the cracks. Now by scribable, I'm talking about a method of fitting a piece of woodwork to a wavy surface. I go into that elsewhere. And again, with crown, it's really not appropriate. Scribing is very difficult to do on crown, and it can only be done to a very small degree, maybe as much as a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch on a typical piece of crown. In other words, it'll work out if your ceiling is within a 1/4 inch of being perfectly flat, and that would be a pretty good ceiling. I've seen much, much worse. Now in this kitchen, it's been done right. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is a kitchen designed by Nancy Hugo, and she knew what she was doing. Let's take a closer look at this trim at the top of these cabinets. First thing you notice is it's fairly small, maybe 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches is pretty flexible for most woods and can be just pressed into place and then nailed to cover many cracks. The second thing, though, that you'll notice is it has a nice flat surface that is what actually is the final surface before you get to the ceiling. That's important because flat surfaces are easy to scribe. So this trim is great. It's small and scribable, and it lets us create a seamless fit to the ceiling. One thing I'd like to add about going to the ceiling is simply to not go too close to the ceiling, or you may start to get door conflicts with some of the lights. I've seen that in the past, and again, this kitchen avoids that error. It stays a healthy distance from the ceiling. It looks like the doors are about 2 inches below the sheetrock of the ceiling. Great job, Nancy.